Hello everyone, welcome to Amrita's monthly current affairs series program, and we are starting with June month indexes and reports. So places and news of both the months are covered. Now we are starting with the indexes and report. So starting with the international ones, starting with the Nature Index. So Nature Index published by the Nature, very famous international journal of science. So Nature Research has released this Nature Index. The idea of this Nature Index, Nature, you must have heard, a very famous journal of science where very important, very significant researches, papers are published. Okay, so it provides the database of highly quality research output and collaboration of institutional, national, regional level of institution from different country. One important chart, if you see, so this is the change they represent. The 10 fastest rising institutions in the Nature's Index, and all of them are of China, right? So it goes to show how China is developing its strength over the period of time. So top three countries are US, then China, then Germany. India is on the 12th rank. Within India, three top ranking institutes are very understandably so: CSIR, ISC, Institute of Science, and TFIR. That is TIR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. TIFR, not TFR. Next is Locust Environmental Booklet. So this booklet is being published by FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization. We have discussed this locust attack in detail. We have discussed this locust attack. We differentiated this attack from the attack that happened in Kerala as well. So that was locust by name but not by nature. We have also discussed that. FAO has also identified the hotspots of the desert locust. We identified 3 reasons as was earlier. So gives an update on the situation on the methods of handling with the locust swarm. Then we have World Investment Report. World Investment Report, we have already discussed UNCTAD. Now you yourself see this is a June month. Now we have completed this 12th month cycle and this is the 13th month. So there will be reports will be repeated. Why? Because obviously the reports of new reports will come on, right? So this new report of UNCTAD, that is World Investment Report, the heading is International Production Beyond the Pandemic. So I don't think this data is very important with respect to this, right? This report itself focuses on the trends of FDI worldwide at the regional and the country level, because a lot of issues are there. A lot of issues are there with respect to COVID-19, Corona pandemic. So I don't expect the questions such as on FDI patterns this time around, because everything is so much disrupted. Because if they ask before Corona time, that itself is not very what we say significant, because now everything will change because of Corona, right? So a lot of economic parameters, I don't think any question will be there on a lot of economic parameters, because a lot of disruption is there because of the Corona, especially with respect to the FDI and FII. Yes, they can ask you, for example, we have discussed when FDI goes out of the country, or sorry, FPI goes out of the country, how the dollar how the dollar becomes, how the dollar rupee equilibrium changes. We have discussed that in the economy I think in the April month economy, right? Then we discussed the dollar swap, or the RBI deciding to put its dollar into the market from its forex reserve. So these type of questions can be asked. Next is Global Trends Report. So this report is by United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, right? So this is basically reports talks about published every year to count and track the number of refugees, this internally displaced people who have returned to their country or the area of origin, asylum seeker, stateless people. So from the name itself, refugee agency, so they tackle it. Next, very important, World Competitiveness Index. Now this is, you have to differentiate between this index and the Global Competitiveness Index. This index per se is not important, but the comparison with the Global Competitiveness Index you need to keep in mind. Okay, so this is being released by Institute of Management Development, independent academic institutions. India is ranked 43 out of 63, not very important, because Indian government also focuses on this World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Index. Okay, so you just need to keep in mind the difference between both. So World Competitiveness Index is Institute of Management Development, and Global Competitiveness Index is World Economic Forum. Then State of World Population Report. So this report is published by United Nations Population Fund. This is a very good in fact book. It has a lot of insights for the society for GS1. If you go out and just if you find time to download this book, contains a very good insights. It actually talks a lot about women empowerment, gives you a good statistics, some keywords with respect to women empowerment. Okay, so if you find time after the prelims, go and just check this report out. It's a very good report. We'll try to use whenever we'll discuss some of the essays in coming time, or the essay courses we are thinking to launch, or any other course. So we will include the insights from these reports. These reports are really good. Some of them are. Then commodity at glance, special issue on the strategic battery and mineral. This report is also by the UNCTAD. So if you remember, we have discussed all the reports of UNCTAD, right? And UNCTAD is an important organization to remember the reports of. Okay, so this is the report from the UNCTAD. Nothing too much to be discussed inside of it, because this the name itself is important. Next is global economic prospects report, that is by World Bank. Okay, differentiate between the reports of IMF versus the World Bank, right? So World Bank has its economic prospect, because similar reports on the similar lines are being published by the IMF as well. So it's a semi-annual report. Okay, so every 6 months they publish this report, and this is World Bank. I'm going it quickly because we have a lot of things to cover, and along with that we have the 5 questions to cover as well, that also take time. So as to overall the length of the video is not too much elongated, I have to cover it very quickly. Next is Asian Development Outlook. Now this report is by the Asian Developmental Bank, headquartered in Philippines, Manila. So according to report, Indian economy will shrink or will contract by 4%. Yesterday only the numbers have come, 23.9% our GDP has contracted, but that is first quarterly report, first quarter results. So April, May, June results have come. So it says that as compared to April, May, June of 2019, 2020 numbers are being compared. So 23.9% we have contracted, and this is fine also, because why? This is being expected on some level. Why is it so? Because the whole April was under lockdown, the majority of the May was under the lockdown, some of the states in the June were also locked down. So obviously this much numbers were expected, act of God, and these things were said, right? So Asian Development Outlook, it is being released by the Asian Development Bank. Next is Rule of Law Index. So Rule of Law Index is being published by the World Justice Project, an independent organization, and that is why we have to read these reports, because this question being asked in UPSC. Okay, so what they basically measure, Rule of Law Index. So it's a quantitative assessment tool designed to offer the detailed and comprehensive picture of the extent to which the countries adhere to rule of law in practice. So how countries adhere to this rule of law, how this rule of law is followed in every country. For example, how many people respect judiciary and all these things. Okay, so India is ranked 69th on 128 countries. So previously in 2018 the question was asked, Rule of Law Index is released in which of the following, by which of the following? So it is World Justice Project, and this is why we are reading all the indexes. Why? Because when this question can be asked, other questions can be asked as well. Then very important report, Global Education Monitoring Report, that is by UNESCO. Okay, so basically this the mandate of this report to progress towards the education, which is the SDG target. So we have discussed which SDG target is related to education. So these are 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. So SDG 4 is there, right? So SDG 4 is with respect to the education. So Global Monitoring Report has noted that the efforts to maintain the learning continuity during the pandemic may have actually worsened the exclusion trends. So they have also, important, this can also be asked, they have created this wide database, that is World Inequality Database on Education, to draw attention to the extreme high levels of the world education inequality across country and between the groups within the country, and especially during the times of this lockdown, right? Because the exclusion problem was already there, the inequality or problem of equity was already there, and this has been expanded by the lockdown or the closure of the schools per se. that has led to the digital inequality playing a big role, or digital divide playing a very big role in widening the access problem in the education. So white database, remember this white database is created by the UNESCO under this Global Education Monitoring Report. Now we discuss the reports and indexes of India, starting with State of Environment in Figures 2020 report. So this report is being developed by the within the Down to Earth. Now Down to Earth, it's a magazine published by the Center of Science and Environment, Sunita Narayan. So it states that India has around 50 lakh internal displacement caused by disaster and extreme weather conditions like flood, cyclone, drought in 2019. They're not talking about the 2020 humanitarian crisis, that is the migration crisis in India. They're talking about just because of the environmental internal displacement, how much is happening. Around 50 lakh people, 5 million people are displaced because of these things. This time also, presently, we are also experiencing so many droughts, the floods currently in various parts of India, and many people are getting displaced. Then next is the first time attempted by Ministry of Earth Science a report on the climate change over the Indian region. Okay, so Ministry of Earth Science has attempted to create an assessment of the climate change in different parts of India. So a lot of information they have come up with. So from 1901 to 2018, 0.7% average temperature rise is there. A lot of things, sea level rise, all these data you can use in your mains answer, but not important for prelims. For prelims, only important fact is that the climate change over the Indian region, this report is being published by Ministry of Earth Science. Now, if they ask questions as well, for example, in statement wise, the statement will be very easy to grasp with the common sense. Why? Average temperature risen. So average temperature has risen. Summer rainfall has declined. Localized heavy rains and dry spells obviously have increased. Area affected by drought has increased. Flooding event have increased. So everything more in a negative sense, you can say everything has increased. Okay. So rise in the intensity of the tropical cyclone in the North Indian Ocean region has increased. So everything has increased itself. We have discussed this Hindu Kush Himalayan range, right? So it is experiencing declining the snowfall and increasing the retreat of the glacier, increasing the melting of the rivers, melting of the glaciers, right? So this is also the trend that we have discussed. So all these things are very intuitive in nature. Data you need to keep in mind while preparing for mains, but all these reports and the data here is in prelims. As far as prelims is concerned, all these things are intuitive, so don't have to cram anything, right? Just read it once and you are done. Don't have to revise it even. Next is State Food Safety Index. So State Food Safety Index 2019 and 20. This is being released for the second time by FSSAI, that is Food Safety and Standards Authority in India. So they have released this result of the second State Food Safety Index. So they basically they make a score of the states. So human resource and institutional data 20 marks, compliance 30 marks, food testing 20 marks, capacity building and training and capacity building 10 marks, consumer empowerment 20 marks, and out of the 100 they evaluate the food safety across the states. So now remember, you can be confused that it is being released by the Niti Aayog, because food safety is there, and more importantly the comparison among the state is there. So remember, it is not done by the Niti Aayog, it is done by the FSSAI. So index is based upon the performance of the states and union territory from on five significant parameters. Gujarat, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra have topped this safety index. Okay. You don't have to remember these weights. Just remember all the weights are not equal. Weightage are there, weightage are not equal. And some of the weightage will be obviously training capacity building, surveillance, food testing, consumer empowerment. So all these will be the parameters. Next is improving heritage management in India. So this heritage management in India is by Niti Aayog. Again, if you just keep in mind, Niti Aayog is only interested in the economy side of things. Why they will care about this nature or the art and culture? then you can be intuitively you can get it wrong. So it is the Niti Aayog which has come up with this report. Okay, so there are around 5 lakh plus heritage sites in India. You can remember it from the perspective of tourism. Niti Aayog is doing so. So so many ASI protected monuments, 38 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, 6,000 state archaeology. Not very important. Just remember this improving the heritage management in India report by the Niti Aayog. Next is periodic labor force survey 2018 and 2019. So this is being released by the National Statistical Office, NSO, has released this periodic labor force survey. It is the first computer-based survey launched by National Statistical Office in 2017. So launched in 2017 on the recommendation of an economist, that is Amitabh Kundu. Okay, there are many good speeches of Amitabh Kundu on YouTube. Whenever you find time, please have a look at it. You'll get good insights into Indian economy and some other sectors. So very importantly, these are the things you need to keep in mind. Okay, so the regular surveys for this would supply data not only on the formal sector but also on the informal. So formal plus informal. This is an important part. Then it also provides the data for the annual basis for rural and urban areas at all state and the all India level. So it's a more inclusive in nature, and that is why it becomes relatively more important. So a lot of insights it has kept, for example, from 2017, 2018 to 2018-19. So that was the first survey, then the second survey. So from the first survey, the employment has improved, labor force participation has improved, worker population ratio has improved. So all these words are also important. We will discuss that in economy. So all these data, what is the difference between labor participation rate versus the worker population ratio, and all these things. These are very important, very easy, but very, very important to understand. Okay. Other data, I don't think that is very important. More importantly for this, remember these factors. Okay. Right. Next is tuberculosis report. So this report is being released by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Ministry of Family and Health Welfare, sorry. So India is this is wrongly written, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, sorry. So India is committed to elimination of tuberculosis by 2025, 5 years ahead of the WHO project. We have seen that. We have discussed TB. We have discussed TB in detail. There was a report about the masks as well. I discussed with you that the consistent use of the mask, if we do it, we will be able to achieve this TB elimination by 2025, because wearing the mask reduces the chances of infection. We also have a Nikshay Poshan Yojana aimed at the providing financial support to the TB patient for their nutrition. So Nikshay, this is there. DOTS treatment is for this. Last time we have discussed a Microsoft program also, DOTS 99, that is for the improving the discipline for the tuberculosis patient to take their medicine on time, right? Next is sample registration system bulletin. So this is a demographic survey for providing reliable annual estimates of, remember, sample registration system. It provides the data for IMR, birth rate, death rate, other fertility and mortality indicators at both national and the subnational level. So initiated on the pilot basis in 64-65 and from 69-70, it is being done regularly. Conducted by whom? Office of the Registrar General and Census Commissioner under Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, so this is the conducting authority. So the state down infant mortality rate. Obviously, the improvements have been done. You can quote this data while discussing the parameters with respect to health. Okay, so this data can be very helpful when you discuss the improvement that we have done over the years on the IMR, MMR, and all these factors. So we are done with the discussion. Let us see the questions that we discussed. So 5 questions we will discuss. Starting with which of the following is correct with reference to the Agricultural Marketing and Farmer Friendly Reform Index. First, it ranks the Indian states and union territory based upon the implementation of the provision under the Model APMC Act. It is launched by the Niti Aayog. I am giving you 5 seconds and then we will see. Right. So the answer will be, it is launched by the Niti Aayog. and the topped by the Maharashtra. We have discussed that previously. And from the name itself, farmer friendly and agricultural marketing reform index. So you must know APMC reform is a very long pending issue. Many of the states have undertaken it, but many of the states have not. So instead of taking up the coercion approach, they have taken up this competitive approach, right? So instead of the coercion approach, they have taken this competitive approach or cooperative approach. Here it is competitive approach undertaken by the Niti Aayog. This is what competitive federalism is all about. So states competing with each other to come on the first on this list. And obviously when the talk of the marketing will be there, they will talk about this APMC reform. So both the statements are right. So it ranks the Indian states and union territory based upon the implementation of the provision of the Model APMC Act, and it is launched by the Niti Aayog. Both the statements are right. Then we have Asia Pacific Trade and Investment Report is being published by which of the following organization? So which of the following organization published this report? I'll give you time. Right. So I hope you have done it. If you have not, just pause the video and then wait for the answers. So we have discussed UNCTAD actually. UNCTAD along with the UNESCAP, that is United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. We have discussed that in detail. Okay. So what this report is, what they, for example, last time they talked about the non-tariff barrier in 2019 report. The 2020 report must be coming. Okay. So this answer is UNCTAD. Yes. So UNCTAD and UNESCAP both are actually, I think the formation of the answer is not right. So both of them are right. Sorry. Both of them, I think the second option must be something else. So the UNESCAP is obviously there and UNCTAD is also there. Okay. So I think the option framing, I have done something wrong here. So both the options are right, A and B. So remember, Asia Pacific Trade and Investment Report is a product of both of them, UNESCAP and UNCTAD. It's not the one organization only. And because both the options are there, and that is why the answer is, question itself is wrongly framed. Next is Lost at Home report. Is seen in the news, is published by which institute? Lost at Home. We have discussed this report in the, I think, February month. February 2020, we have discussed this report. Right. So this is being published by the UNICEF. Now you can also guess it. Lost at Home. So they are talking mainly about the children, and from children you can guess that it is of UNICEF. But it is obviously it's always very good that we know about these things, right? So we have discussed that this report, UNICEF said that around 33 new displacements were recorded in 2019, and 25 million are due to the natural disasters, and 8.5 due to the conflict and the violence. So this is published by the UNICEF. Then we have International Debt Statistics Report. So this report is published by which institute? Pause the video and answer this question. International Debt Statistics Report is published by which organization? IMF, UNCTAD, World Economic Forum, World Bank. So it is the World Bank which publishes this particular, report. So International Debt Statistics is a long-standing annual publication of the World Bank featuring external debt statistics and analysis of 122 low-middle income countries that report to the World Bank debt reporting system. Okay. So this is the nothing too much details. I don't think that too much important. So it is by World Bank. Then last question is ease of living index in India. Very important question for this year. We have discussed two index simultaneously, ease of living index and municipality index. So let us wait and then let's answer it. Okay, so let us see the answer. So this report is being released by the Ministry of, not Niti Aayog, but Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation. Okay, so I think the ministry name has changed, but this is being the ministry being done. So two reports, two indexes, that is ease of living index and municipality performance index being done. And it is done by, if it's from the ministry name, you know that it is the city area, not the rural areas they are talking about. Okay, so in the ease of living index, they have considered these three criteria: quality of life, economic ability, and sustainability. And within the quality of life, there are many parameters are there. Okay, we have discussed that in detail, so I'm not going in the details of it. You can always download the PDFs of the session 1 indexes and report and revise all the indexes report. All the indexes report we have covered. I'm like 100% sure nothing will come outside of it, whatever we are discussing. Municipal performance index, so we have the five indicators of it: services, finances, planning, technology, and governance. Different criterias of there, and based upon that all the municipalities will be graded. Okay, right. So the answer is neither one of two. So either it is neither Niti Aayog is not there, then it ranks state on the basis of livability parameters in both rural and urban areas. No, it is not the rural areas, so only in urban areas. So both neither 1 and 2 will be right. Okay, last question. I think this is the last question. That is, the brown to green report is being published by which institute? So let us wait. Right. So this report is being published by the Climate Transparency. So Climate Transparency is basically an international research collaboration. It's a global partnership with a shared mission to stimulate the race to the top in G20 countries. So basically focusing on these G20 countries. How many countries in this G20 are focusing on working with respect to the climate change? Right? So climate performance of these 20 countries, and this is what matters actually, these top 20 countries which are part of the G20. So this is the Climate Transparency. India is the only country which is close to 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature rise. In fact, India's INDCs have been praised by all over the world as compared to other countries which have made their INDCs very conservative. India has gone ahead, a punch beyond its weight, it is said, and come up with very ambitious INDCs. Okay, so this answer is Climate Transparency. So we are done with this session. 5 questions we have done. Just very quickly, let us see what we have discussed today. So we started discussion with the Nature Index. Nature Index by the Nature Research publication. So all these good patent thing, quality research and all these things. Then FAO's Locust Environment Booklet. Then World Investment Report by UNCSAT. Global Trends Report by United Nations Refugee Agency. World Competitiveness Report and the difference between the Global Competitiveness Index. This is by the Institute of Management Development, and the other one is by the World Economic Forum. Then State of World's Population Report, then Commodities at Glance Special Issue, that is by UNCTAD. Then Global Economic Prospects by World Bank every 6 months. Then Asian Development Outlook, that by the Asian Development Bank. Rule of Law Index by World Justice Project. Global Education Monitoring Report by UNESCO. And there also we have discussed the White Database. So remember that as well. Then in India, we discussed a State of Environment Report by CSE, Assessment of Climate Change of India Report by Ministry of Earth Science, that Food and Safety Index by FSSAI, then Improving Heritage Management in India Report by Niti Aayog, Periodic Labour Force Survey by this NSO, then Tuberculosis Report, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Sample Registration Bulletin, IMR, MMR, and all these details are there. Then with respect to questions, we have discussed this Agriculture Marketing and Farmer Friendly Index, Maharashtra, Niti Aayog and APMC reforms. Then Asia Pacific Trade and Investment Report by both UNSCAP and UNCTAD, Lost at Home by UNICEF, and International Debt Statistics by World Bank. And Ease of Living Index by not by Niti Aayog, Ministry of Housing and Poverty Alleviation, Urban Affairs it is called now. Then in the urban areas, not in the rural areas. So with this, we finish our discussion on the June month. We have to increase the speed because I know many of the aspirants are watching these videos. So so that their time is not wasted. We cover a lot in this 30 to 32 minute video, right? So then we'll do the July month. We have discussed 15 questions by now, 10 in the places in news and 5 here. And we will try to continue this trend moving forward, right? So see you in the next class, everyone. Bye-bye for now. Thank you.